Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff. I'm the COO of AsBAA, and with me here today is Gary Dolski, the CEO of Metrojet. So, Gary, how are you today?
Life is good. And yourself? You doing good?
Good, thank you.
Good, Jeff.
Beautiful day.
Yes.
So, let's just jump straight into questions.
Okay.
Metrojet is one of Asia's founding business jet management companies. How has it evolved to where it is today? And you know, can you tell us some of the milestones of Metrojet?
Sure. It's a great story. You know, I've been fortunate. I've been CEO of Metrojet now for nearly 3 years, and a big reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is the opportunity to work with a wonderful family, a wonderful man in terms of Sir Michael Kadoorie. Sir Michael has been active in aviation for over 50 years. And in actual fact, if you go back to 1974, he acquired the very first private helicopter, Hughes 300, in Hong Kong. Fast forward from there a bit and you go into 1978 and he founded Heli Services. After Heli Services, moved 19 more years forward, and in 1997 you have Metrojet, and that's when we were founded. We were the very first business aviation operator in Hong Kong. Important milestone for us, and actually for AsBAA as well. 2001, that's when we acquired our very first G4. We started our maintenance with Gulfstream in terms of being a service center with Gulfstream. And at the time there was our MD, a gentleman by the name of Mark Turner, was one of the founding individuals that worked and changed what was ABAA to become AsBAA. So we have actually a very strong tie with AsBAA right from day one. If we go forward to further maintenance in 2012, we founded our Clark MRO facility, and I'm very happy to say by Q4, COVID-19 pandemic taken into consideration, we will be opening up our flagship MRO facility, a $25 million investment, a US dollar investment by the family to provide maintenance and hangar storage in Clark. So we've got a long storied history in Hong Kong and the region. We really built on the cornerstones that Sir Michael has always felt, and that's in terms of quality, safety, and service. You know, his family has been in the area for well over 140 years and has a very, very long-term view on everything he does, and in this particular instance within aviation.
Oh, perfect. So speaking of, you know, coming from abroad, I understand that you draw your experience from, you know, also from other places and other cultures, Canada, US, Singapore, UK, and obviously Hong Kong. You know, how do you think that these differences in cultures influence business aviation and how it works here?
Very much, actually, and Metrojet is really a potpourri of East meets West. We take the long-term view, the strategic view, an Eastern view. You know, as I said before, Sir Michael and his family have been here for 100 plus years. I've had the benefit of working for Fortune 100 companies where you're only as good as your last month and your last quarter. We have an incredibly long-term view on things. And example I'll give you in Clark with our new facility. Our facility there with that investment, it's a 25-year lease with a 25-year option. Okay, so that means we'll be there for 50 plus years. Not too many companies that I know of have that type of a long-term view. Yeah. And then you take a look at the mix that we have within the company. You look at our management board, it's got an even mix and split between local Hong Kong and Western. We have an even split in terms of our males and females. We're very supportive of the AsBAA mentality and reach of the Discovery program. We're a strong supporter of women in aviation. We take a look and our pilots are not only from various Western regions but Eastern regions. They come from the military, commercial, cargo. We look at problems with different eyes, the East and the West. We come from different cultures, right? And the nice thing that we take on that is we all have different views. We all want to come to the same solution and conclusion. We just get there differently, and we actually get there much quicker when you have different views.
I think that's a very good point. I think it's, you know, having that diversity there that will definitely help, you know, with sort of finding a solution
very much
quickly.
So. And on that, I just one of the views that we're looking at. So with us moving now into Clark, I've had the benefit of also working around the world. Some of the finest technicians and engineers that I've worked with are Filipinos, and these people, if we're well aware, in the Philippines, the largest export in the Philippines is labor.
Yeah.
And these are people that are working abroad that get to see their kids for 2 weeks out of the year. Well, our view over here is to hire as many locals as we can in the region and to bring some of these people home so they can spend their whole year with their family.
Yeah, that's good. So, I mean, speaking of MROs and, it's in terms of the infrastructure, how do you think the business aviation infrastructure will advance, sort of at the rate to where we need how do you think it will advance to where we need it to be?
Okay. So, if you would have asked me that this time last year, I'd probably have a different answer, right? But we're currently sitting in a new world, right? It's a new environment right now. It will still definitely advance, and it'll advance for many reasons, but it'll advance differently. If you take a look in the past, when we look at infrastructure development, for say, it's always been government. Well, guess what? The governments now around the world are spending a lot of money and resources to find a fix and find a vaccine for a worldwide pandemic. And that's where the money has to go. I think what we will find, as we finally find a solution, people will look in their coffers and there won't be as much as there was before. So that in itself will help to push towards some private and public partnerships. I think you'll see some infrastructure development coming from there. You'll see, right now, there's not a lot of reasons to develop an airport if traffic is now 99.2% down.
Definitely, yeah.
It isn't right now. However, that will change. And when you develop an airport, it's not only the infrastructure of the airport, but it's the hangars, it's the navigation. You have to make sure that the airspace is available. But just to go through some quick numbers, if you take a look at the world right now, there's nearly 8 billion people, of which 60% of them are sitting in Asia. Okay, so by default, and it's also one of the fastest growing just demographic region. So the population grows, traffic will grow. Then you take a look at, that's commercial, but if you look at the business aviation side of things right now, 36% of the billionaires in the world are in Asia.
Yeah.
So guess what? These people will like to travel as well. So that will come back. And so if you talk to the OEMs, they're going to say, well, we need to sell aircraft in here, and we're going to sell aircraft in there. What sells more aircraft? Well, service sells aircraft. So OEMs are putting some facilities in. But as we had discussed before, when you take a look at Asia as a region, it's not like the U.S. from here to here. We're talking 40-some countries, and you have to cross borders.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen when you have to do this development? The OEMs can't be everywhere, so there's got to be room for us independents, okay, the boutique organizations. And what I think we will also see, because of the world situation now, because of the pandemic, you're going to see, by default, competitors having to work closer together, OEMs having to work more with independents. And I think if we all take a view of, here's the pie, and collectively we look at growing the pie. So Metrojet right now has a percentage of this pie. But if we help the OEMs sell more aircraft, service more aircraft, that pie will grow. By default, we grow. Right? Do I want to grow percentage-wise as well? Yes. But if we can help everyone grow the pie, then everyone wins. And we've always been Metrojet, Sir Michael, his son, Mr. Philip Kaduri, have always been, how do we make things work together?
It's good. So, I mean, speaking obviously growing with the Metrojet family and the industry as a whole, what do you think sort of the industry looks like for Asia? Given the advancements in artificial intelligence, urban air mobility, EV tolls, etc.
Okay, so let's touch on a few of them. If we look at artificial intelligence, okay, so we're now taking the ability to process and interpret massive amounts of data really quickly. And now by doing that, we can find solutions that we couldn't find before. So by default, we'll be able to solve a problem, get aircraft in the air quicker. If you take a look at trend monitoring that's happening now, before you'd have one engineer come into an aircraft, scratch his head, this is how I'm going to fix an issue. Well, right now, it's a plug and play. What do? You download, you transmit, and somewhere sitting 8,000 miles away, either in Savannah or Montreal, you have a team of 20 people that are working on the problem to get you an answer very, very quickly. You take a look at what's happening now in all the new aircraft, flight data monitoring. So somebody lands, you take the data, you take a look at it, and you say, something didn't go right. Maybe your approach didn't go right. Well, let's take a look. What do we need to do on that? Do we need to put a flight member through different training? Do we need to change our procedures? You take a look at now just the development of the different components that go in an aircraft. They have built-in failure analysis on windshields, for instance. So you know what? So all of a sudden you're flying, a light goes on, and it's identifying an impending failure right now, and it could be the windshield is delaminating, it may be a heat fail issue. You can now, as you're flying in, you still got 7 hours into your flight, you get on the blower, and by the time you land, there's a windshield sitting there for you in Luton or whatever, and you can change it, you saved an AOG. We take a look at the different materials that we're using, composites, you're saving weight, you're strengthening things. You talked about the mobility between cities and such. If you take a look, right now we have the ability for pilotless drones, right? And that technology, it's all there, we can do that. The governing factor that's slowing that whole thing down, though, is the government regulators. How do we manage that? Correct. The technology is there, but the regulation isn't there. We take a look at the helicopters, intra-city, intercity mobility. Now if you fly, you leave Hong Kong, BAC, and your 650ER, or your Global Express, or whatever you fly, the time it takes you to go from leave Hong Kong, BAC, and land in Manila will take less time than when you go into your fancy car from the airport and have to drive halfway across the city to go to your meeting. So obviously we're going to see some growth in that area as well.
Okay, all right. So, in terms of growth and, sort of changes, what are the sort of more important things that you wish or you hope to see changed in the industry in the, upcoming, 10, 15 years?
Okay, so I guess a few things. I've always been an optimist. Everyone that knows me says I always look at things definitely half full versus half empty. What the world's going through right now today is something, it's new to all of us. But what has to happen now is we're going to have to start working more together as a global community. Okay? And we can talk infrastructure development. Before we even get there, we have to get regulatories, officials getting all on the same page. We all know the difficulties right now. Depending on who you ask and what's happening in the world, there's nearly 250 countries or territories or nations in the world. That means 250 borders. And an airplane, without having the ability to cross that border, air travel is stopped. Yeah. So we need to get the regulatory officials to all get on the same page. We need to look at it collectively to find a solution. We also then will need the private partnerships to help the public partnerships to do this as well, because as I said before, a lot of money is going into solving this problem. We have a different issue that we want to solve, so we're going to need some private money into that. And the other thing I would say is, as a father of 3 daughters, who will say to me is, Dad, the old white guys you've solved some problems, but you've created a lot of problems in the world today. Help us with this environment, right?
Yeah.
And that's really big. When we talk to 15, 20 years, we definitely need to do something with the carbon footprint. We definitely need to find alternate fuels. We definitely need to get something back so that my children, your children, whoever's listening's children, they have a future. And that's something we as an industry can do, because we also have all the movers and shakers in our industry. Yeah. And though we're much smaller than the commercial side of the business, we also have the individuals that can help drive this and put us in the right direction.
Perfect. Okay, I know you're a busy man, Gary, so I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Wonderful. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for having us here at the Metrojet office.
Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you for your support, your continued support of AsBAA, and we hope to have another chat with you soon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Jeff, and really appreciate it.
Right.
Okay, good. Thanks, man.
Thank
you.
you.
Cheers.